If you think you've seen it all in the world of Metroidvanias, prepare to be amazed. These 12 new games promise to make even the classics of Castlevania seem like a thing of the past. I'm Matthew, and we're starting the list with Hollow Knight Silksong, undoubtedly one of the most anticipated games in the Metroidvania genre, with a scheduled release for September 4th, 2025, on multiple platforms. Developed by Team Cherry, the sequel to 2017's Hollow Knight puts players in control of Hornet, the Princess of Hallownest, on a new journey in the Kingdom of Farloom. The game promises to maintain the essence of the original, with non-linear exploration, fluid combat, and an interconnected world full of secrets, but introduces expanded mechanics, such as Hornet's greater mobility and a tool system instead of the amulets from the first game. The 2D artistic direction, with stunning visuals and a dark atmosphere, remains a highlight, and Team Cherry has confirmed more than 150 types of enemies and a more robust mission system. After years of waiting since the announcement in 2019, Silksong was a highlight at Gamescom 2025, with playable demos receiving praise for their visual beauty and refined combat, promising to exceed expectations as one of the best Metroidvanias of all time. Bushiden is a Metroidvania with a cyberpunk aesthetic inspired by classics from the 80s and 90s, such as Ninja Gaiden. Developed by Pixel Arc Studios, the game puts players in the shoes of Rayleigh, a young ninja in search of his missing brother in a futuristic world full of machines and biomechanical creatures. The gameplay focuses on fast and precise combat, with acrobatic movements, combined attacks, and unlockable abilities that open new areas on the interconnected map. The pixel art direction, with vibrant colors and detailed animations, evokes the nostalgia of 16-bit games, while the electronic soundtrack reinforces the cyberpunk setting. Bushiden promises a challenging experience, with complex bosses and a narrative that mixes themes of family and technology, making it an exciting addition for fans of the genre looking for something with a retro but modern touch. Possessors, scheduled for November 2025 on PC, is an intriguing project from Heart Machine, known for Hyper Light Drifter. Although the developer avoids explicitly labeling the game as a Metroidvania, it incorporates central elements of the genre, such as guided exploration and skill-based progression, but with a greater focus on action and 2D platforming. The story follows Luca and Rem, two characters in a devastated world with unique mechanics that involve possessing enemies to solve puzzles and access new areas. The aesthetic combines vibrant visuals with a melancholic atmosphere, reminiscent of Heart Machine's style, and the combat is described as fast and fluid, with an emphasis on combos and agile movement. Although there is debate among fans about its classification as a Metroidvania due to the absence of some traditional utility gating mechanics, Possessors is highly anticipated for its innovative approach and emotional narrative, attracting both fans of the genre and players interested in differentiated action experiences. Bloodstained: The Scarlet Engagement is the new venture of Koji Igarashi, legendary producer of the Castlevania series. As a spiritual sequel to Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night, the game maintains the classic formula of the genre, with exploration of a vast gothic castle, refined combat, and a progression system based on weapons, spells, and abilities. The protagonist, not yet detailed, will face challenges in a world imbued with supernatural and demonic elements, with 2.5D visuals that modernize the aesthetic of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. The game promises to expand the crafting and customization system, offering a greater variety of builds for players. After the success of its predecessor, which raised more than $5 million via Kickstarter, the Scarlet Engagement is a safe bet for fans of gothic Metroidvanias, with the guarantee of Igarashi's expertise in creating immersive and challenging worlds.
With me! Cross Reaper!
Tonight, we start our mission! So you've come, dogs of the church, right into the palm of my hand.
Adventure of Samsara is a Metroidvania that combines exploration with a narrative inspired by Oriental mythology. Developed by an indie studio, the game features a vibrant world with hand-drawn visuals and gameplay that emphasizes the acquisition of skills to unlock new areas and face mystical enemies. The story revolves around a cycle of reincarnation, with the protagonist navigating through environments that mix spiritual and natural elements. The promises of an interconnected map, rich in secrets and platforming challenges, with a soundtrack that reinforces the mystical atmosphere. Samsara stands out for its unique cultural approach, offering a fresh experience in the genre, especially for players who appreciate deep narratives and artistic visuals, while maintaining the essence of exploration and combat that defines Metroidvanias. Auridia is a Metroidvania-style game developed and published by Norseborg Games, scheduled for release in 2025 on the Steam platform. Created by solo developer Reed Molbach, the game promises an experience focused on exploration, platforming, and environmental storytelling, without emphasis on combat. Set in an interconnected world of ruins, the player explores unlockable biomes, using skills such as climbing, throwing bombs, swinging with hooks, and dodging obstacles like thorns. The absence of direct combat differentiates Auridia, prioritizing fluid movement mechanics and platforming challenges that require precision and skill combination. The game is described as a short adventure with an estimated duration of 3 to 6 hours, ideal for those who prefer more focused and accessible experiences. Auridia's narrative is told indirectly, through artifacts and environmental clues, encouraging the player to unravel the fate of a lost civilization. The plot involves interaction with a historian who explores the same ruins, and the player must collect artifacts to answer his questions, shaping the ending of the story of the city of Auridia. The setting is enriched by a pixel art aesthetic and Lovecraftian influences, creating a mysterious and immersive atmosphere. Auridia is designed for fans of Metroidvanias who appreciate non-linear exploration and skill-based challenges. The game rewards players who seek secrets in every corner and like to revisit areas with new skills to access previously unreachable locations. However, it may not appeal to those who prefer games with intense combat, linear narratives, or longer experiences. Sealed Byte Extended, scheduled for release in the third quarter of 2025 on PC, is an expanded version of the original game Sealed Byte, a pixel art Metroidvania that combines exploration with action elements. The plot revolves around a young werewolf in a dark world, facing supernatural creatures while unlocking abilities that allow access to new areas. This edition promises additional content such as new areas, enemies, and gameplay mechanics, maintaining the focus on dynamic combat and non-linear exploration. The community on Reddit has shown enthusiasm, highlighting the promise of a richer and more detailed world compared to the original, which was already well received for its immersive atmosphere. Bloodright, also scheduled for the third quarter of 2025 on PC, is a Metroidvania that stands out for its dark narrative and gothic aesthetic. Developed by an indie studio, the game puts the player in control of a hero in a world devastated by an ancestral curse. The gameplay emphasizes intense melee combat and magical abilities, with a progression system that unlocks new paths as the player advances. Although specific details are scarce, expectations are high due to the promise of a deep plot and an interconnected level design, characteristics that fans of the genre value. Scheduled for October 2nd, 2025 on PC, Gigasword is an action and puzzle Metroidvania developed by Studio Hybrid and published by Akupara Games. The game follows Ezra, a warrior who carries a colossal sword, the Gigasword, used both for combat and to solve weight-based puzzles, such as activating platforms and opening doors. Set in the Nestrium Tower, the player seeks the divine crystal Gnosis to save a world on the brink of collapse. The pixel art aesthetic and melancholic soundtrack, combined with gameplay that mixes challenging combat and exploration, have drawn comparisons to titles like Blasphemous and Hollow Knight. The community on Steam praised the game's demo, highlighting the unique sword mechanic and the potential for speedrunning, with record times being shared on Akupara's Discord. Savior is a 2D action-adventure platformer developed by Starsoft, an indie studio from Portland, Oregon. The game, which is in development for PC, Nintendo Switch, and possibly other platforms like PlayStation and Xbox, is a Metroidvania that combines elements of non-linear exploration, strategic combat, and fluid parkour. The story centers on Sam, a young acrobatic woman with no memories who finds herself involved in an age-old conflict between two opposing factions, the Chosen and the Fallen, on the fictional island of Arcadia. With a nostalgic pixel art aesthetic inspired by 90s classics like Jazz Jackrabbit 2 and Ninja Gaiden, Savior promises a vibrant visual experience and gameplay mechanics that seek to stand out in the genre. The narrative addresses deep themes, such as the dangers of organized religion, the search for identity, and the reconciliation of divided societies, offering an emotional layer to the gameplay. Savior's gameplay is defined by three main pillars: exploration, combat, and parkour. Exploration takes place in an open world with more than a dozen immersive environments, including cities, mountains, caves, and aquatic depths, with elements of medieval fantasy and futuristic technology. Combat is inspired by games like the Batman Arkham series, with precise attacks in 6 directions, varied combos, blocks, and dodges, mainly using a versatile staff for strikes, defenses, and throws. The parkour system is one of the highlights, allowing fluid movements such as double jumps, climbs, dashes, and grabbing edges, ensuring dynamic and intuitive navigation through Arcadia. In addition, the game introduces a territory capture system, where the player's actions persistently impact the world, with factions vying for control of territories, which adds a strategic layer to the progression of the story. Rose and Locket is an action-adventure platformer developed by Whistling Wizard, a two-person indie studio from New Zealand. The game is set in the spiritual realm of the Underwest, a supernatural version of the Old West, where players take on the role of Rose, a former outlaw on a mission to rescue her daughter's spirit. The gameplay combines platforming elements with twin-stick shooting combat. Players can aim in any direction and shoot at a variety of underworld enemies. Rose can switch between a pistol and a rifle, and the game features an automatic reload system. The game also includes platforming elements, with Rose able to jump and dodge attacks. The game features a unique visual style, combining elements of comic books and cinematic panels. The environments are hand-drawn and feature an ever-changing atmosphere. The game also features full voice acting, which helps bring the narrative to life. The story revolves around Rose's journey to defeat the 7 deadly sins of the underworld. By defeating each sin, Rose can free her daughter's soul from its prison in a silver locket. Grime II is a game being developed by Cloverbyte and will be published by Akupara Games. It is the sequel to Grime, released in 2021. The game maintains the Metroidvania and action RPG structure, known for its combat system focused on absorbing enemies to gain new abilities and characteristics. The sequel expands this mechanic with a greater focus on exploration and character evolution, introducing new challenges and elements to the gameplay. The game's narrative continues to be a central point. The first Grime had an abstract story, told in a fragmented way, and the second seems to follow a similar path, delving deeper into the mythology of the world. The player explores a new realm, facing bizarre and gigantic creatures. The art direction maintains the peculiar aesthetic of its predecessor, with a dark and, at the same time, intriguing visual, where organic forms mix with rocky structures. In terms of gameplay, the absorption system has been improved. Now, it's not just about absorbing the essence of enemies to gain passive abilities, but also to modify your own body. This allows for a deeper customization of the playstyle. The combat is fluid and requires precision. The player needs to manage the stamina bar, dodge, and parry blows at the right moment. The difficulty characteristic of the Souls-like genre seems to remain. Grime II also introduces new exploration mechanics. The game world is larger and more interconnected, encouraging the player to revisit previous areas with new skills to discover secrets and alternative paths. The arsenal of weapons has also been expanded. In addition to melee weapons, there is the possibility of using abilities that alter the environment. Well, that was the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and see you in the next video.